What's the most effed up thing someone has told you about themselves after barely getting to know them? I used to work at an animal shelter and we had several people who would come volunteer to help out. One of the women who came there on a regular basis went to lunch with me. She was such a sweet woman, a little older than I was at the time. She proceeded to tell me that she used to go to the park and give old men blowjobs because she felt sorry for them. WTF? That is too weird. What animal shelter? What park? For research purposes, of course. That's disgusting, but I'm sure the old men were absolutely thrilled. I wonder if word got around and at some point in the park got busier. Lol. Seems like a F and SNL skit. You bet every man in the local bingo club started visiting the park more. That's a next level of devotion. She's a saint, just not the Christian kind of saint. Oof, the infection she must have come in contact with. I know. And I can only imagine what else she could have shared with me. Hey, want a bite of my sandwich? It's so good. Threw up in mouth, thanks. At 10 o'clock at night, I was at a rest stop and a guy came up to me and asked, how would you like to save a life? Tell me a joke and I may not kill myself. Wow. You got emotionally mugged. Energy vampire. Damn you, Colin Robinson. Hey you. Give me all your happiness. All of it. Slowly put it on the ground and back away slowly. What happened next? I told him about my friend who took too many edibles once and he laughed. I got the hell out of there after that. Man, he laughed. Sounds like the joke killed. Geez, sounds intense. Hope he was okay in the end. There's no way to tell for sure, but I really hope I saved his life that day. I really hope I saved his life. If you did, your friend deserves part of the credit too. Bro, what if the joke didn't make him laugh and he ended up killing you? Maybe he was psycho and you saved your own life by accident? I can never remember any jokes on demand. Situationally, sure, but on the spot with tell me a joke I always draw a blank. Every single time. Man was lucky with whom he stumbled on. The only one I ever remember is the one about two goldfish. They're both in a tank. One goldfish turns to the other and says, "You man the guns, I'll drive." Randomly met a fellow motorcycler at a gas station at 2 a.m., told me he was going to confront his wife and her lover. Not right then, just in general. Then we rode the last 100 miles to St. Louis because he happened to be going the same way. I hope you didn't keep going on your way to his wife's house. I sat next to this quiet kid in my Spanish class. He was awkward and had a subtle speech impediment. One day, I tried to spark conversation with him and he told me that he considered murdering his parents. Guess he really did not want to talk with you. Worked. Guess that's one way to get someone to stop talking to you. Lol. Maybe he was just real bad at Spanish. Like maybe, he was trying to say something about mashing potatoes. Turns out it was me. I heard him wrong. SMH. Quiero matar mi papa? I want to mash my potato. Quiero matar mi papa? I want to kill my potato/dad. Quiet kid being taken out in handcuffs screaming potato. Oh, maybe that's what he meant. What happened to him? Not sure. He would talk to me a lot about random things, but I never knew anything of him after that. That was years ago. I don't care what happened to him. I want to know what happened to his parents. They murdered him. My manager at my job in high school decided to tell us about her suicide attempt on my very first day. She was like, "One day, I decided to take some pills and end it all. I grabbed a pill bottle out of my mom's cabinet and took a handful without even looking at what it was and then lay down to die. I was so surprised to wake up in the morning perfectly fine. Confused, I checked the bottle to see what I had taken. Yeah, it was estrogen." I can only imagine the awkward silence from that story and how it ended. I bet she thought it was a great joke to loosen the tension. This is exactly why I think she told the story. She laughed like it was hilarious after telling it. To be fair, when you've been severely mentally ill for a while, your sense of humor just changes and you might not notice the extent. I was seated next to a quiet kid on a high school band bus to a football game. He'd been in my band class for years, but I had never really spoken to him. He was the type who didn't fit into anything at school that I ever saw. I resolved to get to know him a bit and open up a conversation since we were going to be sitting by each other for a few hours. It was as a dam burst. That dude talked for the whole trip. At one point, he told me that his mom was really unhappy with his stepdad but couldn't afford to divorce him. And then he told me that his stepdad would get drunk and beat him with a stick, but he wasn't sure if his mom was also getting beaten and that scared him. There was a brief pause before he said, "I never told anyone that before." Then he changed the subject completely. I must have been 17 or so. It shook me. Obviously I was old enough to know that sort of thing happens, but too sheltered to think it happened to anyone I knew. I told my parents about it. Seemed the right thing to do. I don't know what happened from there. He and I never really spoke of it again. I just looked him up on Facebook, though. Looks like he's done really well for himself. I'm sure he appreciated your kindness. Happy that he is doing well for himself. Sometimes it helps to just let it all out. Even one time like that, it could have lifted a huge weight off his mind. You were a free therapist that day, lol. I've been that kid. It is like a dam bursts. Finally, someone has given enough of a F to ask you how you're doing. And there's just so much trauma and devastation you don't know where to begin. So you just start talking. And talking turns to word vomit. And then you word vomit some really deep, dark personal crap that you damn well know is unsettling to someone who hardly knows you. You freak out and double back as much as you can to try and sweep it back under the rug. Because that's what you do. That's what your family does. It's what you know. Sweeping it under the rug means it doesn't exist. It means it can't hurt you. It's obviously not healthy, and I hope you got the mental health help he most likely needed to process all of that. I know I did. Thanks for being there for him. As nervous as he may have been, a very heavy weight might have been at least slightly lifted, if not more. You did him a good service. I was doing my practice in a hospital. They brought a young man in the neuro clinic. He was my first patient. He was around 30 and he had fallen from a tree while working. He turned out to have a complicated neurological condition that had nothing to do with his fall. He was also diagnosed with severe depression. He was in there for months and no one ever visited him. The only time he felt a bit better was when I visited him and did some tests to him. He said, "It's nice when you come and make me play with the colored toys and make me draw things." One day he was looking out of the window. When I came in, he looked me dead in the eye and told me, if the windows didn't have protective bars, I'd jump right out. It was the first time I'd heard such thing and I remember it ever since. It's truly horrible how many people with neurological disabilities or mental disabilities just get abandoned as soon as the family can get away with it. Lawyer here. Seen this many times, even in wealthy families. I am from the mountains of New Mexico. We had mailbox uncles. These were the mentally ill members of wealthy Eastern families, New York, Boston, etc., that were sent to live in rural locations in New Mexico, and their families mailed them monthly checks to stay. Damn, I wish my family would do that to me. That's horrible. It's not effed up for him to say that. He was telling someone he trusts how he feels. No, it's effed up that he had to feel that way. I think that's what the poster meant, not that he said it. Coworker took out a client for a business lunch at a small town restaurant. He asks the waitress, "How are you?" to be polite. She proceeds to go on a 5-minute spiel about how terrible her ex-husband is and how he's ruining her life and how she feels like crap because of it. After she finishes, takes their order and leaves, the customer says, "So you must know her pretty well?" "Only well enough to say hi in passing." "Oh, so then that was just as awkward for you as it was for me then?" Yes it was. This feels like a Parks and Rec scene. Like it a lot. Alternatively, that waitress is 100% Twyla from Schitt's Creek. There are very many people in this world, especially in this day and age who have a lot of baggage and no one to share with. I wish it was more normal to be human. We all struggle and it's not good for any of us to keep it bottled up inside of us. Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind someone dishing like this at all. Chick is obviously going through it. Rather hear what you really think than try to come up with bullcrap for an hour and a half. I don't watch the news and I have no idea what the weather is supposed to be like. I'd much rather the random waitress be able to get that off her chest and I listen for 5 minutes than her feel like she has no one to talk to. I picked up a hitchhiker once that told me he left California after his wife died because the cops were asking too many questions. I dropped him off in the next town and he paid me with a beer and we parted ways. Was his name Russell? Well, that night I lost myself to ruby red lips, milky white skin and baby blue eyes. I once picked up a hitchhiker on my way home from an early Sunday shift. He'd been out drinking the night before. I asked how it went. Okay, until I got stabbed. Then he showed me the base of his thumb with a 50p-sized piece of flesh hanging off, covered in dried blood. I put my foot down hard as soon as he got out. Worked with a new girl one night, literally didn't know her name. She told me about every sexual experience of her life, that she wanted to try anal, but kept having flashbacks to her uncle raping her, how her mom whirled invite guys over for a train when she was a teen and a crap ton more. Bonus point, she turned me into HR because she told her fiancé that she told me this. He freaked out so she lied and told them I harassed her. What was the outcome from HR? 2-week paid suspension while they investigated, after which I returned to work and she was no longer allowed to work in my department. Did she admit to having lied about you? No, but there was enough that had happened between her and other employees that helped. Also, my wife worked at this company. HR tried to use that as leverage against me, asking what she would think of what I allegedly did. Me, not being an idiot, had gone home and immediately told my wife everything. Seems inappropriate for HR to vaguely threaten you, perhaps enough to anonymously report. Edit. Replies. Dang, I know who HR works for, but let a guy live a life assuming some people have integrity. Sheesh. If you knew what the outcome would be, that sounds like a sweet deal, but I'm sure you were stressing too much to enjoy the time off. This is what I think when I get jealous of people that got furloughed. Some guy next to me on the bus once went into a long elaborate story about how he burned his house down for insurance money like 3 weeks prior. I wouldn't have believed it if his hands didn't have massive burn scarring. Lol, dude probably just had scared hands and makes up a news story whenever someone stares at them. Used to ride the bus every day to get to one of my first jobs. Old dude on it had a removable section of his face. I probably heard about 30 different versions of how it happened when he caught kids staring. Oh, you look nervous. Is it the scars? Do you want to know how I got them? Come here, look at me. See, I had a wife, beautiful, like you, who tells me I worry too much, who tells me I ought to smile more, who gambles and gets in deep with the sharks. Hey. One day they carve her face. We have no money for surgeries. She can't take it. I just want to see her smile again. I just want her to know that I don't care about the scars. So I stick a razor in my mouth and do this to myself. And you know what? She can't stand the sight of me. She leaves. Now, I see the funny side. Now, I'm always smiling. Like a dog chasing cars, wouldn't know what to do with one if he caught it. Wanna know how I got these cars? Dog, probably. I was temping at an office and the trainer told me about her ex. He was cheating on me, not just with one woman but many different women. That's terrible, I replied, thinking we'd move on. Nope. No, it was worse than that. He filmed himself shagging the women, and then streamed the compilation of his conquests onto our TV, for me to watch. I was unsure of what to say, and after a couple of minutes of me being quiet, she then said, when it was Valentine's Day a few days later, he gave me a present. He let me start unwrapping the present. In Pass the Parcel style, each layer had a used condom that he'd used to shag the women in his compilation video. To say I was sat there not knowing what the F to say is an understatement. I'm just sitting here thinking why one would keep unwrapping that present after the first layer. Why would you even be there after the video? It's rude not to wait for the credits. You've got to see the scene after the end credits. I see a Marvel fan here. Most likely she'd gotten gradually used to that kind of thing over the course of the relationship, and wasn't readily able to see how outlandish and unacceptable it was. That probably also goes some way towards explaining why she thought it would be a normal/appropriate story to share with a coworker. I think she was deep in the fog of the abusive relationship, but I agree I'd have been out of there after the video, let alone keep unwrapping his present. I was eating at a hotel restaurant. Waitress told me the same things. Her ex cheated on her while she was pregnant. She was getting clean from hard drugs. She had an abortion. I was like, "Can I have my chocolate milk, please?" You were ordering chocolate milk at a hotel restaurant, so she knew you were effed up enough to hear the story. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.